Hey guys, welcome back to another stream. I'm here joined by Marius Fischer, who knows a lot about Tuchel or Tuchel. That's the first question I want to ask you.
I think it's Tuchel, so I would say Tuchel, but I think he won't care anyway.
All right, I would say Tuchel as well, but I've seen it go both ways. Jack, I'm always on time. The video is started so that we can let some people get into the stream, but you'll see the video always starts at the time that the stream starts. But I do that video on purpose so that we can have people in for the stream when we really get started. So, Marius, how are you feeling right now? Are you a Chelsea fan, first of all?
No, I'm not sure if I should say which team I support. Maybe the guys who watched the last live stream yesterday on Chelsea Social. So I'm an Arsenal supporter, but yeah, I mean, I get on with you Chelsea guys quite well. I mean, got some fellows who are Chelsea supporters. So yeah, I'm from Germany, so apologize if my English is not the best. But yeah, I try my best to give you some insights on the German coach who will hopefully for you will lead you to success now.
Yeah, I always like having rival fans onto the channel. I think it brings like a different perspective, and your English is absolutely perfect. I wish that I could speak Spanish how you speak English, honestly. so good. So first off, I wanted to ask you, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling about this transfer for Chelsea? Do you think, like, initially, without giving us any information, do you think that it was a good move by the Chelsea board?
Yeah, so from 10 points, I would say it's a 9 or 10 out of 10. That's my opinion. So as an Arsenal supporter, I would love to have Tuchel as a coach, even now when we have Arteta. So yeah, he is one of my top 5 favorite coaches. So yeah, I can just congratulate you on getting Tuchel.
Wow. So I think that a lot of people will be relieved to hear that as Chelsea fans, because obviously a lot of us are so emotional after Frank Lampard was let go. I have had a rough 2 days. It's just been really hard to wrap our mind around. So looking at who Frank Lampard is a manager, when he came in, I had the idea that Chelsea were really going to change how they approached managers going forward. I felt that we had this hire and sack culture that was in place, and I thought that Lampard was going to be more of a longer term signing. And then it feels like Tuchel, I don't know if he still implements that philosophy. So do you think that Tuchel is a sign, like, can go forward with the Chelsea philosophy that I felt that we were trying to implement? Or do you think that it's more of that philosophy of the past, like he'll do well for a season or two and then move on?
So I think Tuchel is a coach who likes to have a long-term plan. So I think the reason why he was not that long in charge with the previous clubs, yeah, there were some different circumstances. I think we can come to this later, because I think it was never a sporting reason. He was fired at Dortmund and he was fired at Paris. So it was all like a personal dispute with the board that had other reasons than the results. So I think he is ready to really move a club forward for 2, 3, or 4 years, because I mean, he wants to have success, but I don't think he plans to win everything in the first 2 years and goes away then. So yeah, I think if everything is running okay, I think he will be your coach for the next 3, 4, or 5 years. Not that much longer, because when I watch his interviews, I think he is on the same page like Guardiola, for example, who has this like 3 or 4 seasons philosophy. So not being long at the club, like, yeah, you need new impulses after 3 or 4 years to motivate your players. So I think Tuchel will not be your coach for the next 6 or 7 years, but I think he will not be a short-term option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of Chelsea fans will be relieved with. Others are totally fine with this hire and sack policy if it gets trophies. I personally would like to see a little bit more stability in the club. So I'm hoping that this appointment will bring that. So I want to get the bad stuff out of the way, because I think that a lot of Chelsea fans were a little bit cautious about this appointment. So I just want to get that out of the way so that we can focus on all of the good stuff that he brings. So what would you say is the worrying thing? We know that you mentioned that he fell out with his past clubs at Dortmund and PSG for personnel reasons. So could you dive into that? What should Chelsea fans be a little bit worried about?
So generally, I think Tuchel is a guy who the English football fans really need to adapt to, because he's not your classic British coach. I mean, when you look at the Premier League, you have a lot of old style coaches like Allardyce and all the names, and I think these are guys that are quite admired by the English football fans, because they personalize this English British football feeling. And Tuchel, he is one of these new generation coaches. He's never played on the highest level as a player, so he was, you could say, a laptop coach, we call it in Germany. He was never a really good player. He started as a youth coach from the under-90s in Mainz, and then he made his way up to Paris and now to Chelsea. So he is quite educated. He's intelligent. He talks very intelligent. He's quite humble, and I think this is a character type that not everyone likes, because I mean, all the people wants to have a coach like Simeone, for example, who shouts, who brings fire to the team and who motivates them. Tuchel can be loud at times, but on general, he's quite humble, quite calm. So I think Chelsea fans need to know that he is not the guy who is in the media every day with new stories. So he's very competent. He is a great tactical mind, but he's not the guy who is standing on the sideline and shouts for 90 minutes. So that's what you need to know in general. Well, about his personality, it's a bit difficult. I mean, he is quite stubborn. So he has his own ideas, and as long as his ideas are fulfilled and everyone is agreeing with him, it's all fine. But as soon as he feels like he is not really understood at the board or at the players, he can be a bit grumpy. So I think this was the main reason he was dismissed at Paris, because Leonardo and the Paris board, he just couldn't get on with them, because he required some transfers and he didn't get them. So he just was angry. This is the one side of the story, but I think a lot of coaches are like this. So if they want to have a certain player and the board says no, I mean, that's not a good situation. So with Borussia Dortmund, it was a bit different. A lot of Chelsea fans asked me, why was he fired at Dortmund after 1 or 2 years? And I think you need to look at it quite isolated. Maybe you remember the situation in front of the Monaco game in the Champions League. There was an attack on the team bus of Borussia Dortmund. So there was a crazy guy who attacked the bus, and some players got injured. And the Borussia Dortmund bosses, they wanted them to play the next day, no matter what, because they thought, if we don't play, we lose money and we lose the game and we lose a lot of reputation for the FIFA and the UEFA. But Tuchel obviously not agreed with them, because he sat in this bus and he saw in the faces of his players, and I mean, this was not like a joke. They could have died on this day. So he said it's up to the players if they want to play, and he did not like the approach of the board of Borussia Dortmund to force them to play. And I think this was the sticking point. It was just the base of trust was corrupted with this day. So I think this was really an isolated situation that hopefully never happens again. So I think this was something special. But in general, like I said, Tuchel is quite stubborn. So if he does not get what he wants, he can be a bit grumpy and angry, and he will make it public. So if he does not like anything that happens in the club, he's not shy to make it to the media. So I was told yesterday that the Chelsea board is even more difficult than the Paris board. So I'm not sure if you will get on with them, but I mean, it's always in football the same. If you have success, everything will run fine. So I think it will really demand on how much success Tuchel has in the first month.
Yeah, I think that's something that made myself and a lot of other Chelsea fans nervous, was just knowing how the board acts and seeing how it's broken down with other managers, and feeling like, or hoping that this is not more of the same, because that's the story that we've seen in past years. But I do hope that it works out. So let's move on. Oh my God, some people are just going in with really funny comments. So it goes, if Tuchel can handle the ego-loaded players at PSG, he can do very well at Chelsea. Let's go on to some of the more optimistic things. So, what are some of his strengths as a manager, would you say?
I think, like I said, he's a great tactical genius. So I think I would put him in the same bracket as Julian Nagelsmann of Leipzig, even Guardiola or Klopp. So from just the football point of view, he's really, in my opinion, one of the top 10, if even top 5 coaches in the world. He has a great man management. He is really, really strict. So I remember a funny story. I told that yesterday when he came to Paris. On the first or second day, he visited all the nightclubs in Paris and told their owners if the players go partying before a match, they should call him. And yeah, I mean, he demands a lot of the players because he wants to have success. That is his obsession. He wants to have success. Same like Guardiola. And to have success, you need dedication. And Tuchel is a 100% professional coach, and he demands the same of his players. So I can understand that. On the other hand, so he has his rules, but he also accepts that every human being is different. So, for example, Neymar is a quite difficult character. So I think Neymar wants to leave France to visit his family in Brazil like once a week. So Tuchel allowed him a lot of times to fly to Brazil to see his family, if his sister had birthday, so on, because he knew Neymar needed it to perform. So Tuchel, he has his rules, but he also always has in mind that certain players need certain treatments to really get the best out of them. So I think this is one of his main strengths. He has the intelligence, the social intelligence to really see what does a player need to perform to his best. So that can be different from an academy player to a star player. But all in all, I think, he really has this feeling for a player, which is quite important to really, get the best out of them. So I think he won't have any problems with the characters in the Chelsea team. I mean, there are some different characters, but I think if you get on with players like Ousmane Dembélé at Dortmund, with Aubameyang, with Neymar, with Mbappé, I think he will be okay with the Chelsea players.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And obviously right now it feels like the Chelsea team is totally disjointed. I don't know if you saw any of the drama that was dropped right before this, but basically that a lot of the players were not supporting the manager. They went to the board, they weren't performing. It's a whole big mess. So knowing that there's kind of like two camps right now at Chelsea, do you think that Tuchel is going to be able to reunite them and ignite some flame under them and get the best out of them in the performances? And you think he's going to be able to do it fairly quickly?
Yeah, well, that's the problem. I mean, he was also always famous for his starting record. I think he won the first 7 games when he was in charge at Mainz, which was a new starting record in the Bundesliga some years ago. He won the majority of the first games when he was coaching Dortmund, and he also won like the first 7 or 8 games at Paris. So he is known for having a head start. But of course, the circumstances were a bit different. He had a full preparation phase, and now I wouldn't say Chelsea is in a mess, because it was not like Chelsea lost all of their last 5 games. So the situation is maybe not as bad as some people make it. But I think
lost.
Yeah, I think what Tuchel did at Mainz, maybe this is a funny little story. When he first was coaching Mainz, and he was coming from a youth team and maybe not that big of a reputation, and there was the breakfast. They were in a training camp, and they had breakfast in the morning. Yeah, and Tuchel sat there with his coaching assistant, and he was full of motivation, first day at a new club. And then the players came down the stairs, took their breakfast, and went back to their room. And Tuchel was sitting there thinking, okay, am I in the wrong movie here? So that was the first thing he changed. So he took the players together, and he said, okay, this was this morning, but for tomorrow, I wish. So he always talks in wishes, so not I demand. So I wish that tomorrow we will, for at least, let's say, 20 minutes, we sit together and we talk a bit. And afterwards, you can go up in your room. I don't care. So, after I think 2 or 3 weeks, the players liked that so much that they spent like 1 or 2 hours after the breakfast together in the room. So I think he will have some ideas to really gel the team together, because what you told me, it's needed at Chelsea, because there are some groups of players maybe not really gelling together, some new players who came in the summer, and they're maybe not a homogeneous group yet. So I think that will be his main task in the first weeks, to really form a team, because I think this is quite important on the pitch and off the pitch for his style of play.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I think that the team has just fallen apart and looked really devoid of confidence recently. And now that we're getting more insight into what's happening behind the scenes, I can understand why. And it's so frustrating and hard to deal with as a Chelsea fan, to see the team that you love just kind of crumbling to pieces in front of your eyes. And I really hope that the players are able to sort this out. But it's really worrying. So I do have a question that I wanted to show you and ask you. So who do you think are the Chelsea players that will really flourish under Tuchel? Or are you like familiar with the Chelsea players first?
Yeah, I am. So for me, obviously, one of the players that will flourish under Tuchel should be Hakim Ziyech, because he is similar to other players that Tuchel already coached. I say Di Maria maybe with his left foot and all these in-swinging crosses, and maybe Mkhitaryan at Dortmund, who was performing so good under Tuchel. Yeah, and Ziyech is just a perfect player for Tuchel, because we'll come to that later, the style of play Tuchel wants to employ, and I think Ziyech is the perfect player for this style of play. But also, maybe you don't want to hear that, Jorginho. I think, Tuchel relies on a deep-lying playmaker, and I think Chelsea is not full of these players, and Jorginho is one of these players who are quite good with the ball, and they are quite press-resistant, and I think Jorginho, if he wants to play this role again for Chelsea, maybe he will leave in the next days, I'm not sure. So if he really wants to play this role at Chelsea again, I could imagine he could really improve under Tuchel. I wouldn't put my hand into fire for it, but I could imagine him improve under Tuchel.
So this is kind of similar. I still want to go ahead with that question, but do you think that Billy Gilmour could potentially fill that role that you mentioned, that Jorginho, that deep line playmaker? Do you think that Tuchel could put his trust in somebody so young but with so much potential, or do you think he's going to probably aim for Jorginho, who's more experienced?
It's hard to say. I mean, ability-wise, Gilmour is great, so I think he should trust him, but I'm not sure if he will do in the first weeks, because I guess in the first 5 or 6 weeks he will trust the rather experienced players, because the most important thing are results at the moment in the state of Chelsea Football Club is they need results quickly. So I can imagine that Tuchel will bring in Gilmour in maybe in 4 or 5 weeks, but the first games I cannot imagine that he trusts really that young players. And I think Gilmour, it's not like he played every game under Frank Lampard, so it's not like he was a starter under Lampard, and I don't think he will be a starter immediately for Tuchel.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And something that I kind of had just wasn't really happy about with Jorginho was that I felt that he was totally capable of playing those long balls over midfield or attacking or attacks, and I just felt like he wasn't really doing it that much, and he started to play slower when everything goes through that deep lying playmaker, and he was just doing side passes or back passes. That's something that really frustrates me. So do you think that Jorginho's style of play could change drastically under Tuchel?
Well, the thing is, it depends. So the role of Jorginho for Tuchel depends on how much does Tuchel trust the center backs of Chelsea, because Tuchel, he wants to play a dominant style of play with a lot of possession, not as much possession as maybe Guardiola wants to have with his team. So Tuchel is a bit more direct. So he wants to circulate the ball, but not for the sake of it. So if there are open lanes, open passing lanes, he wants to play a direct style with a lot of 1-2s and third man concept passes. So the ball playing ability of the center backs is quite important in Tuchel's philosophy. So I'm not sure if it's there at the Chelsea squad. I mean, you have Thiago Silva, who is quite old. He can break the lines with his passes. You have maybe Christensen, who is quite good with the ball. But other than that, I don't really trust Rüdiger to play constantly good passes from the back. Tomori also not the best player with the ball on his feet. So I could imagine that Jorginho has the role to drop deep between the center backs, and his task is to get the ball to the attacking players, his main task. So I really think it depends on how much Tuchel trusts the center backs. If they are good enough for Tuchel to move the ball up forward, I think he's not really dependent on Jorginho to do it, so he can play with Mount there, or even with Gilmour there. But if Tuchel really wants to have a player dropping between the center backs to really organize the game, and you can say what you want about Jorginho, but Jorginho has quite a good feeling for the game. He has a good feeling for the pace of the game. And I think this is what is needed for Tuchel. And I'm not sure if he can bring an external player in the next 4 or 5 days. So, it's rather Jorginho or no one. So,
Yeah, that's interesting. Sorry, I'm just looking at the comments here, and some of them are absolutely cracking me up. So that kind of segues us pretty well into what I next wanted to talk about. Could you dive deeper into the tactics and what Tuchel is going to expect out of these players? What, as Chelsea fans, should we expect to see? Maybe not immediately, because it is going to take some time to implement the tactics, but what do you see in his system, in his style of play? Is he able to adapt? What's the typical system that he uses? Like all of that tactical stuff that we love to know.
So I think there was a tendency that Tuchel started in his clubs with a 4-3-3. So I think this is still his favorite formation, even though he's quite flexible. So he, with the ball, he tries to play a positional play. So every player has his own task on the pitch and his own position, and dependent on the position of the ball and his teammates. So a bit like Guardiola's style of play. So Tuchel is really in possession, a lot similar to Guardiola's style of play. He likes a lot of these chip balls over the defense. So this is one of the trademarks of Tuchel's play. So when he was at Dortmund, Gundogan played a lot of these chipping balls over the defense. Di Maria, Neymar, they played these balls to the fullbacks. So the fullbacks play a very, very important role for Tuchel. So Chilwell could play a really good role for him, because he likes quick fullbacks who can run down the line and get to these chips over the defense. So I think he will go with the 4-3-3 at the beginning. But like I said, he is really flexible coach, tactical flexible. So I would not be surprised if he will bring in a 3 at the back at some point in the season, like he did with Paris in the last few months of his reign there. So you can expect a lot of tactical flexibility, a lot of movement without the ball. So he really demands a lot of the players, a lot of intelligence of the players. So, but like his man management style, also on the pitch, he knows that he needs the creativity of the attacking players. So he won't put Havertz, Pulisic, Ziyech in a role where they can't use their creativity. So he always wants to have this creativity, because he knows otherwise they can't win games. So it's more about getting the ball up the pitch. You need to really follow his rules, and you really need to do the positional play. But when the ball is in the final third, it's also similar to Guardiola. He just demands his attacking players to just play, to just dribble and shoot. So I think this will be quite good for all the individual brilliance that Chelsea got in the squad with Havertz, Werner, and Pulisic, and so on.
Yeah, I think that they have kind of lost their spark a little bit. I know that we definitely have not seen the best out of Havertz and Werner, nowhere close. They just look really low on confidence. And even somebody like Pulisic, who we saw after the restart, was just on fire. He seems to be struggling as well, and be struggling to pick out the final third pass or what he should be doing, or his shots don't seem to come off 100%. So do you think that this is something that Tuchel is going to be able to fix? And specifically, do you think like that him being German, that there's been a couple of articles saying that he was brought in as an added bonus because he can speak German to Kai Havertz and Timo Werner? And do you think that maybe having that cultural similarity is going to help him get the best out of both of them, and even just with his coaching knowledge, be able to manage them and find which position really works for them? Because I think that's something that us as Chelsea fans, we really don't know what's the best formation or position for these players.
I think so. I mean, Tuchel is quite a coach who likes to tweak everything around. So if something is not really running good, he's not repeating it every time till sometimes maybe it will work. So if something is not running good, he will change it. So I think he started with Pulisic at Dortmund as a left winger, and he did not perform that well on the left wing. And afterwards, he just put him on the right wing, and then he put him as a box-to-box midfielder. Tried that out. So he always tries to get the best out of his players. So I think he will do the same with Havertz, for example. I mean, I'm still not sure what is the best position for Kai Havertz in the Chelsea system. So he will try maybe on the wing. He will try him as a number 10. He will try him as a false 9. So Tuchel, he will try a lot of things to really get the best out of the players. And maybe some things won't work and Chelsea will lose a game. But the next game you can expect it will be better. So Tuchel is really good in finding solutions for problems, I think.
Yeah, that's something that's really reassuring to hear, because I feel like we've just had a lot of problems recently, and it hasn't looked like there's been a solution. It's just looking like the players are rejected. Frank looked really rejected as well, and after that Man City game, he just looks like out of ideas, and it really, really felt bad for him. So I do have a couple more things that I want to go through, but I do want to make sure that we get to some of the questions that we are getting in the stream, because I really love that everybody's sending in their questions and interacting. So I want to make sure to address them. So the first question here is, do you think that Giroud or Abraham is going to be sold? Not only that Frank is gone, but given that we have such a surplus of attacking players, and where, like, if they really can fit into Tuchel's system.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I loved Giroud as a player. I loved him when he was at Arsenal. But to be honest, he's not really the kind of player for Tuchel's system. I mean, he had Icardi at Paris, who is still more mobile than Giroud is. He had Adrian Ramos at Borussia Dortmund as a backup striker who was almost the same height as Giroud. But all in all, I think Tuchel prefers to have a really quick striker. So I think he will play Werner as long as he can. So I think if it's really between Giroud or Abraham, I think he will remain Abraham and sell Giroud. As much as I like Giroud to have as a backup option, but I can't see him getting that many minutes under Tuchel, to be honest.
Yeah, and to go off of that, Giroud's already 34. I think his contract ends at the end of the season. So I think we're all more or less expecting that he's going to move on from Chelsea at the end of this season. But he's been an absolutely phenomenal player for us and such a game changer, utmost professional, honestly, never complained when he wasn't starting. So massive props to him. And Abraham, I think it's going to be difficult. I love Tammy Abraham. I think that he's so underrated. I saw this stat the other day that he had like 41 goal contributions in 47 games or something ridiculous like that. And I don't know if he's going to stick around if he's number 2. I think he'll probably want more consistent game time, but time will tell how Tuchel implements him or if he's a starter. But I do think that he's probably going to prioritize Werner. So now we have another question, and it's kind of like Havertz versus Mount. So do you think that both of them can fit into a system that Tuchel will implement, or it's going to be one or the other?
Well, really depends on which formation Tuchel starts with. I think I could imagine with the 4-3-3 I mentioned, it could also be a 4-2-3-1. So with Jorginho and Kanté. Kanté, by the way, will be very important for Tuchel. If he's fit, he will be a key player because, Tuchel requires a player who does the dirty work in the midfield. So, Kanté is, Kanté in form will be very important for Tuchel.
That answers the question right here.
Yeah, and I think he will go with a Jorginho and Kanté pivot. And if he goes so, I could imagine Havertz playing as a number 10. But how Mason Mount could fit in there, to be honest, I have no idea. Because maybe in a midfield 3, in a flat 3, he could play with Mount, Jorginho and Kanté, for example. But I am not sure if Mount could be a starter under Tuchel in the first weeks. I rather doubt it. So he will get his time. So he will not sit on the bench. He will get his playing time, but I'm not sure if he will be a starter for him in the first week. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. I'm nervous. I love Mason Mount. I think that he does such a good job in the past couple of games. He's looked like one of the only players that was really playing under Frankie and giving it his absolute all. And I do worry for him. Like, I don't worry for him, but he must be I'm shattered, so I can't imagine how he must be feeling. But I know that he's like an almost professional and is going to handle it. And so when he goes, Tuchel should be allowed to mold this team to his liking, and I'm sure that he's going to do that. I'm just going through the comments here. Somebody says the board will force Tuchel to fit Havertz and Werner in. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it is true when you buy players and you spend 120 million on the two of them, you want to see them playing. You invested in these players for a reason, so you're not going to buy them just to have them on the bench. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the price tag of Werner and Havertz is the thing that really is their problem at the moment. I mean, Havertz is still so young. I mean, he, as a German who watched the Bundesliga, it's like Havertz is around for about 5 years already, but he's still so young. So he has played on the highest level for almost 2 years and still is is a teeny. I think he finished his school last year, 2 years ago. So yeah, people really demand a lot from Kai Havertz, but we should be patient with him. I think I should be that wrong if he really does not perform for Chelsea in the future, because he's just such a quality player. He will perform. I'm so sure that he will perform. And I think Chelsea is best when Havertz plays, because, yeah, on the long term, he will be a really, really good player for them. With Werner, it's a bit different. I think Werner is not a world-class striker and will never be a world-class striker. So not a striker on the level of Lewandowski or maybe prime Aubameyang, but he is quite below them. So there are not that many better strikers than Werner, but of course his conversion rate needs to improve. He can't really miss that many sitters in a game. The thing is, I saw a lot of Chelsea fans on social media argue with that, but in truth, last season it was the same. I mean, in RB Leipzig, the thing was Leipzig, they had like 50 chances in every game. So Werner was allowed to miss these all because he still scored 2 goals. So this is the thing I expect.
50.
Dependent. Maybe sometimes 50, sometimes 15. So yeah, I'm just kidding. But I think that will improve under Tuchel. So Tuchel is quite an offensive coach. So you can expect a lot of goals and a lot of chances from the Chelsea. And maybe if they create more chances, Werner is allowed to miss more, because you rather get 10 chances and miss 8 of them and still score 2 than you just have 3 chances and miss all 3. Then you know what I mean. So I think the more offensive style that Chelsea gets under Tuchel will suit Werner, because he is allowed to miss more because he gets more chances in general. So I will see Werner improve his numbers drastically in the next few weeks.
That's a really good point. I really, really appreciate your thoughts on that. So we have a lot of people in the comments asking, I'm not sure if he's actually picking the starting 11, since I think he's just landed in London now. So I'm not 100% sure if anybody knows if he actually does pick the starting 11 for Wolves. But kind of knowing him and his style, the players that we have available, who do you think he's going to choose roughly to line up against Wolves? Let's just go through like a starting 11 and why. So at goalkeeper, I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. So the thing is, I don't want to stumble over some injuries or some suspensions, because I'm not 100% sure if which players are not available.
I'll walk you through. I'll walk you through it.
Yeah, okay.
Right back position, we have Reece James or Azpilicueta.
I think he will go with James, because he's a bit quicker and a bit more forward thinking.
And then for the center backs, we have Thiago Silva, Kurt Zouma, Christensen, and Rudiger. Tomori is out on loan in Milan.
I think he will go with Silva and Rudiger. Silva and Rudiger, yeah. Silva, because I mean Silva was his captain in the last 2 years, so obviously he will be his hand on the pitch. And Rudiger, maybe, I think he knows him as he's a German, so I think he will stick with Rudiger and then Thiago Silva.
After what's come out today with Ruger, I don't think a lot of people are going to be happy with that, and I'm sure he's going to be happy that a lot of fans are not in the stadium. But let's move on, because I could go on about that forever. Left back, we have Ben Chilwell, Emerson, and Marcus Alonso, I guess, could find himself back in the mix after being so out of favor with Frank Lampard, although I find it pretty unlikely in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he will go with Chilwell. Alonso could play a good role because, I think Alonso is a special left back. He has a lot of abilities that other left backs don't have, but not sure. I think he will start with Chilwell, obviously.
Yeah, and now we're getting to the difficult part. We don't really know what formation he's going to play. You said that he liked to play a 4-3-3. We could see a 4-2-3-1. Those are the two formations that Chelsea have more or less been playing this season. So options are, we don't know any injury news. I think Conte is still injured. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure he's still injured. So we have Kovacic, Jorginho, Mason, Havertz, Gilmour.
So if he plays with a flat 3, I think it will be Kovacic, Mount, and Jorginho if Conte is still out. If they play with two holding midfielders and one number 10, I think it will be hard to say. Kovacic, Jorginho, and Havertz as a number 10.
Interesting. So you think that Kovacic and Jorginho are definite starters, and then the last position could be up to Mount or Havertz?
Yeah, I think so. As long as Conte is out, I think Kovacic's got quite a good chance. I mean, if you look at the midfield he had at Paris, it mostly was Verratti, Marquinhos, of course. So I think Marquinhos could be a potential transfer aim for Tuchel, because Tuchel likes to have flexible players who can play multiple positions, and Marquinhos is a great player. He improved so much under Tuchel. He can play as a holding midfielder, he can play even as a fullback, he can play as a center back, and I think these players will be crucial for him, because like I said, his formation is so fluid that he needs players who can switch positions in game, and so I think that will be important.
Interesting, because these are all players that found themselves more or less out of favor with Lampard, and it seems that they're getting a revival with Tuchel. There is, before we go to the attack, Asil, if you have not seen Carefree Youth tweets, I suggest you go see it, because the things that have come out are ridiculous. So that's all I'm going to say about it, but It's not warranted. It actually is really bad what he's done. So
to be honest, I haven't heard anything, because like I said, I was the whole day working and then preparing for the stream, so I didn't really see anything. So I'm quite excited to take a look at it
after. But
I will.
We can DM after and your thoughts. But it's absolutely shocking what came out, and it has had me livid for the past day. So like, if you don't believe it, like, that all of the very top sources are confirming it. It's 100% true, and that's all. I get so mad about this. Okay, let's move on to the attack, because I'm gonna rant about this. So let's move on. We have 3 attacking positions left. We know that Pulisic played under him at Dortmund. We have Callum Hudson-Odoi, who has also been in a little bit better form than Pulisic. Ziyech, could also have Havertz up there, Werner, Tammy, and Giroud. Who do you think he's starting?
I guess so. I would start with Werner up front, with Ziyech on the right, and maybe Pulisic on the left. I think this could work, because Tuchel likes to have these inside forwards on the wing, so they can tuck inside and the fullbacks can overlap and play these two balls. So I think Werner should be a starter, and Ziyech too, because he could fit right good in Tuchel's system. And on the left side, I'm really not sure if it's Pulisic or if he puts Hudson-Odoi there, but I think he will go with Pulisic, Werner, and Ziyech, in my opinion.
Yeah, my thought is that, I don't know, maybe when you go to pick a team, you're probably more likely to go with players, like you said, like he knows Thiago Silva. Obviously, that was his captain at PSG, and Thiago Silva is an incredible player anyways. But also the fact that he does know Pulisic, he did coach him. I think he probably be more inclined to put his faith in him in that first game in charge. And going into a little bit of Pulisic, I got a question about this on Twitter that I wanted to talk about. So we know that Pulisic has not been playing at his best. What do you think that Tuchel is going to do, or maybe something that he did at Dortmund that worked to kind of like reinvigorate him again?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, it will be important for him to really, try a lot of things out for Pulisic, because I think Pulisic he can play a lot of different positions, but this is a good thing. You can play a lot of positions, but on the other hand, it's a bad thing, because on one stage in your career, you really need to focus on one position to where you're really elite. And I think Pulisic was played too often out of position. So I think in the first weeks, Tuchel might try out some things for Pulisic where he will work best, but afterwards he will stick him to this one position, because you can't play a player every game in another position. That won't work. I mean, Pulisic is now old player. He's still quite young. So, he needs...
Just turned 22.
Yeah, that's it's the same like Havertz. I mean, it looks like he's playing for almost 5 or 6 years on the highest level. So I think he will improve him and he will develop him. But Pulisic needs to find his position where he is best. I think this will be crucial for him to find his preferred position where he will perform week in and week out.
Yeah, last year in the restart, we saw that left wing was his spot. He had it nailed down. And now it's not coming off as much. So it'll be interesting to see if he does choose to play him kind of like in a 10 role or on the right, or if he sticks with the left. Something else that a lot of people are worried about, we know that under Frank Lampard, we saw a lot of youth incorporation into the team. 8 youth players made their senior debut under Frank Lampard. And we do have a lot of youth academy players that are currently in the first team, like Reece James, Mount, Tammy, Billy Gilmour, more or less. So do you think that Tuchel is going to continue this incorporation of the youth players?
Yeah, I think he will build on it. I think the general opinion that Tuchel is not really a guy who likes play with academy players, it's not that right. I mean, in Paris, the circumstances was different. Paris, he needed to have success. He needed to win a Champions League in the first year. So the owners of Paris, I don't think they really trusted the youth players. I mean, there are so many stories of players who left the Paris academy and went great in other clubs, like in Kunku or Kouassi, so Timothy Ware. So I think Tuchel is quite similar to Guardiola. Guardiola is also known for not playing. He's not throwing the academy players in every game. So, but these players who are really, really good, like Phil Foden or like Zinchenko, like Kimmich when Guardiola was at Bayern Munich. So if Tuchel really recognized that the academy player is really made for the big stage, he will use him. I mean, he trusted Pulisic at Dortmund, who was even younger 3 years ago, and he trusted Ousmane Dembele. It was no certainty to trust him because Dortmund had a lot of other players who could play there. So it's not. I don't think Tuchel will throw these youngsters just in the team for no reason. He will really select them to see how good are they and if they are really elite. And Chelsea got a lot of great academy players. He's not shy to play them. I mean, for example, in Paris, they had a left back. I think he called Mikkel Becker or something like that. This was a blonde-haired guy on fullback, left back. And he developed to a starter. So it's not like he will introduce 5 or 6 new academy players, but the really best ones he will develop, and he will improve them, I'm sure. So you don't be naughty to be afraid that he will ignore these academy players. He's not known for it. But like I said, in the first weeks, I guess he will trust the more experienced players because that's quite normal. You need results, and obviously you rather trust the older players than bring in new academy players. I think that's quite normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And just to read this comment, I feel really sad for Mount too, but I think that he's an incredible player, and we've just heard that he does incorporate youth. Mount has shown time and time again that he can play in different positions, and I'm really hopeful that Tuchel will find a place for him because I couldn't see him not playing. Maybe not to start, but I don't know. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think even if he's not a certain starter for them, there are so many games in the season, so many midweek games. I think even if you're not one of the first 11 players, he will get starts nonetheless. And if he will perform well, sorry, my English. Yeah, I mean, it's all about proving yourself. I don't think Tuchel is a coach who has his fixed formation already set in his head. So every player will get a fair chance. So if Mount or if Gilmour or if the academy players, if they perform well, I don't see any reason why Tuchel should not play them. So it's not like Tuchel just trusts the old players like some other coaches maybe who really prefer to have old and experienced players. Tuchel, for me to say it in one sentence, Tuchel plays the 11 best players. So if that's an 80-year-old academy player or 30-year-old experience, I don't think he will care. So every player will get his fair chance, I guess.
Definitely. Thank you guys so much. There were almost 100 of you at some point on the stream, which is just so cool. And make sure to like and subscribe to this. And subscribe. I was going to say subscribe to this video, but that doesn't make any sense. Subscribe to my channel. Marius, just a couple more questions for you. So how would you rate Tuchel's man management? You said that he's able to incorporate the youth into the teams. You said that he has a lot of great ideas. He's able to change tactics. So do you think that he has like good communication skills to be able to relay what he wants onto the pitch? How does he manage the team? Do you think he'll get on with the players? All that stuff.
Yeah, like I said, he is quite intelligent and speaks a lot of different languages. And what he does quite well is Tuchel is known for being a rule breaker, which is some kind of, he thinks different and he tries to think quite innovative. So he was at a convention in Germany like 6 or 7 years ago, a rule breaker convention where he was a speaker. And some people ask him, how do you try to imply your ideas, your tactical ideas to the players? And Tuchel said he does not like to tell the players what to do because that's rather negative, because the players think, oh, my coach forces me to do this and to that, and he does not like it. So, yes, a little side story, Tuchel, he hates these balls from the fullback down the line to the winger, these long line balls. Tuchel hates them because in his opinion these balls are dead balls, so they either go out of bounds for a throw in or they are intercepted. So he does not want the players to play these balls. He wants diagonal passes or passes to the middle. So what did he do at Dortmund and at Mainz? He cut off in training the pitch, the corners of the pitch. So he played in let's say in a diamond, in the 11 versus 11 or 9 versus 9 in training. So the players, they were forced to play diagonal passes. They couldn't play down the line because there was no room, because the corners were cut off. So he implied them his playing style without forcing them to play like that. So he was not the idiot, because it was not him telling them to play these passes. So the players had to find their own solutions. And I think that describes him quite well. So he always tries to implicit learning. So he wants that the players find their own solutions. He sets the benchmarks, but inside these borders, the players need to find their own solutions and creativity. And I think this is something that will improve a lot of young players, because he will make them better, because they need to get over these challenges that Tuchel sets them in training. And I think this is a thing Tuchel is really, really good in man management.
Yeah, I read about that story. I really love it. And I think from what you're saying, he has a lot of ideas he worked with a lot of youth players, so he has ideas about what they need to improve. And a quote that that I read, I hope that I'm quoting it right, is that he said, "I like to make the training sessions very difficult because then the games seem easy," which is which is something that I really like. So it seems that he has a lot of ideas for how to improve this team. He has a lot of training tactics, and I think that we could see these come off. I want to go through just a couple of questions in the chat. I'll just respond to them quite quickly. I think, for the record, I do think that Mount in the long term is going to be a starter. I think the only thing that we were saying is that perhaps when you have a starting 11, if you have Jorginho taking over his place in the short term, maybe like we might not see Mount, but I do think that, in my opinion, he's so good. He's going straight to the top, and I do think that Mount is going to be a consistent starter for Chelsea. I don't have any doubts about that. But when you have a new manager who comes in with new styles, you really need just some time to see who he's favoring, who he's starting to pick, what formation he plays, how the team does, whether he changes that. So there's a lot of questions up in the air, but I'm sure that Mount, in the long run, is going to be absolutely fine. And so he goes, Mount can be our future captain. Absolutely. I think he has what it takes to be a captain.
And I think the dedication that Mount, from my point of view, as a, let's say, not Chelsea fan, I think the dedication and the work rate that Mount got is really, really good for Tuchel, because Tuchel wants his players to really work hard. So it's not always about having possession and having creativity. Tuchel, of course, also you have the defensive side of the game, and I think the work rate and the dedication that Mount brings to the game will be key for Tuchel, and he will really admire him for that. So there's no reason to think that Mount won't play under Tuchel, but yeah.
Absolutely. And we kind of touched on this already. So just to recap, players that we think are going to get a renewed life, maybe Rudiger, Jorginho, Kovacic. Those are really Ziyech was already like in favor. So those were the three that weren't playing under Lampard that are probably going to be playing under Tuchel. And players who might be left out, let's see, Callum, Tammy, Giroud.
Obviously.
There's a Mount.
Maybe even Rudiger, if they get another center back, because the problem is for Tuchel, he has his philosophy, his playing philosophy, and he really requires his players to really perform and to don't make silly mistakes. And I think Rudiger, you all know him. He is a good player. I like him, but he always has this mistake in him. So I think whatever center back Chelsea got who is not really consistent in their performance, they have problems under Tuchel, because Tuchel really requires players who are really consistent. And I think that's why he really likes Thiago Silva. I mean, he made this mistake in his first game. It's all talked about, but all in all, Thiago Silva hardly makes any mistake. He's really consistent. And I think this is what Tuchel needs, because he can't really, play with a player who loses the ball when they are in attack, because Tuchel's teams are not really good at preventing counter-attacks, because they are so dominant and so putting so many players up in position. If they lose the ball, they are quite open. So he needs the players to be consistent.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And just final question for you. So we know that Frank was sacked because the board felt that they were just losing sight on top four, and 5 losses in 8 is not a good look. Top four slowly slipping away, it seems. The race is on, though. It's not as bad as we would think. I'm going to pull up the table because I don't have it off the top of my head. Let me just take a look. So right now, Chelsea are 6 points off of top 4. Do you think that Chelsea have an option, have the, opportunity? I don't know what the right word is. Like, do you think that they can get top 4 with Tuchel in charge?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, there's no way that City won't win it this year. I think they're just too good, with Liverpool struggling. I think Arsenal will finish second, obviously. Nah, just kidding. I think it's City, Liverpool, United, and Chelsea fourth. I think this should be the aim for the first season, because Champions League football next year will be important for Tuchel to attract players. Because, I know as an Arsenal fan, it's really hard to attract the best players if you're not playing Champions League. So I think this will be the main task for Tuchel, because in the Champions League, to be honest, I can't see them getting past Atletico, because I watch them quite often this season. They are so good under Simeone this year. They improved drastically with the ball, so they're dominating La Liga. and I can't see how Chelsea can get beyond them. So I think they can concentrate on the league, and it's a good thing, because I think they would rather get Champions League football next year with a full preparation for Tuchel than get past Atletico. And I mean, be honest, I don't think Chelsea will win the Champions League this season anyway. So I think they should be rather concentrate on the league, get the Champions League ticket next season, and then with a full preparation, maybe 2 or 3 new players in, Tuchel can really challenge for the title. And I think he will next season. Definitely.
Yeah, that kind of answers this question. So main goals, I think, are try to secure top 4. It's going to be an extremely tight race, because I think those top 3 spots are basically solidified. You know, it's good. I think it's going to be City, Liverpool, probably Manchester United, and then Leicester, Chelsea, and Tottenham all fighting for that 4th spot. I think it's going to be really difficult. We've lost too many games, but I think that that's going to be his goal, and maybe get an FA Cup, but there's still a lot of really good teams in that as well. But with Chelsea's firepower, if it's used correctly, I think that we could do it. I really do. But yeah, we people are still sending in questions, but I told you an hour, we've reached the hour mark. So I wanted to say thank you so much for joining me. I think that everybody has found this so informative, over 100 people viewing right now. So I honestly can't believe it. Thank you so much. Let my followers know, and everybody watching, where they can find you on socials.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Gegenpressing91. So I'm doing a lot of football visualizations. Maybe you saw them on Twitter. Take a look. They're quite exciting. Some old players, some old Chelsea players. Maybe I will do a Frank Lampard all-time career goals visualization as a thank for inviting me to this podcast. I really enjoyed it talking with you about Tuchel, and I wish you all the best. I mean, Arsenal won't be in front of Chelsea this season anyway, so I mean, we are not really rivals this season. We are just too bad. So it's sad, but it's the truth. So
the truth. I'm glad that you're realistic about it.
Not many other choices, sadly.
It's just been one of those seasons, but they are playing better, so you do have that.
Yeah, they are. I think if we win tonight, there's light at the end of the tunnel, I think.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop it a like, subscribe to my channel. I'll make sure to put all of Marius's info into the description box once this is all published. And yeah, thanks so much. I have another stream in an hour, so be sure to join that one as well. But until then, I'm out.